Well, a lawsuit a day isn't keeping Donald Trump's bad conduct away. We've got 2 temporary restraining orders, 2 likely preliminary injunctions against his administration already. And I haven't even turned to what I think is going to be the next great big lawsuit against Donald Trump. And that is the Treasury Department of the Trump administration giving over the keys to the kingdom of the national checkbook by letting Elon Musk get his big fat hands on our payment system and our revenue collection system through control of, and wait for it, the Bureau of the Fiscal Service. It's a bureau you probably never even heard of, but it affects your life more on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis than probably any other department or bureau in our federal government. And I'm going to tell you what, Elon Musk getting his hands and under the hood of the Bureau of the Fiscal Service means to you and me, your Medicare, your Medicaid, your Social Security, your food stamps, your veterans benefits, government contractors waiting on checks, all comes through the Bureau of the Fiscal Service. And we've got basically a 30-year professional who ran that service, David Lebrick, just threw up his hands and said, I'm retiring, I'm out. And you have an illegal, unconstitutional delegation of authority to somebody who was not confirmed by the Senate, who wasn't elected to his office, and shouldn't be let anywhere near the computer servers or even the front door of this all-important entity that controls over $5 trillion in and out of our money. I'm Michael Popok. You're on Legal AF and on the YouTube channel. I'm fired up. And I've been reading about this story, but now I got my hands on it. If you are a recipient, or you know somebody that is, and I think that's 100% of my audience, of Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, Social Security, Veterans Affairs, or veterans payments, disability, food stamps, health insurance assistance, and the like, you get a check through the federal government, and you get it from this office that I'm here talking about. This office, the predecessor to the Bureau of the Fiscal Service, was formed by Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 1939. In 2012, the then Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner put all these different groups together into an efficient block, called it the Bureau of the Fiscal Service. Just to give you an idea, I'm going to show a video clip that's still up on the website. They take in about $5.4 trillion in tax revenue. The Internal Revenue Service is part of this bureau. They take in 5.4, they pay out about $5 trillion a year to Americans through these entitlement programs. This is the thing that Donald Trump said he's not going to touch when he ran for office. Don't worry about your Medicare, your Medicaid, your Social Security, your disability checks, your food stamps. Don't worry. We're not touching that, right? Vivek Ramaswamy said, well, we're not going to touch entitlements. The next day he quit the Department of Government Efficiency, which is neither a department nor in the government, except a phony bait and switch that Donald Trump did to change the what was once the Digital Service of America, like the Webmaster of America, is now the Department of Doge Services, whatever that means. It was just a way to slide him in to a improperly allocated fund of money from Congress. The problem with Musk's approach and Donald Trump's approach is it's illegal and it's unconstitutional. I'll get to the lawsuit in a minute. It's also, don't blame the Bureau of the Fiscal Service for cutting the checks. It's another way for them to try to impound and stop federally approved funds. Congress in America approves funds and allocates funding. And the executive branch needs to execute on it and to implement it, not to stop it. They don't have the right to impound it or stop it or embargo it or not spend the money that's been allocated by Congress. Those are our representatives in the House of Representatives. Those are our senators who all approved all of this, not one guy named Donald Trump who barely squeaked out a victory against Kamala Harris. That's not who's supposed to be responsible for determining if you get your check or not tomorrow. If that you've been waiting on, depending upon shaping your life around, you've earned. So the fact that Musk got his hands through the Treasury Secretary, Stephen Bissett, and approved by him is unconstitutional, illegal, will lead to the next lawsuit. Why? Because it's a violation of the Administrative Procedures Act. It's a violation of separation of powers. It's very similar to the argument that's up in Rhode Island and in the District of Columbia before two separate federal judges about whether Donald Trump's freeze of funds and then unfreeze. I feel like I'm playing one of these games when I was in grade school. Freeze, oh, you moved. Green light. We're doing an elaborate game of Squid Game, except you and I are all getting slaughtered by Donald Trump's machinations. Treasury Secretary was confirmed by the Senate. Okay, I'll give you that. But he doesn't have a right to turn off the check writing machine that Congress has authorized through his department. He's supposed to execute on the laws faithfully passed by Congress. And so the Bureau of the Fiscal Service doesn't deny a check to somebody. If there's fraud somewhere, it's up for the various departments that supervise and administer these programs to root that out. Social Security used to have an inspector general, doesn't any longer, to look for fraud and abuse. Everyone's like, oh, he got rid of 18 inspectors general. Right. These were the people that were looking for fraud and abuse in the various departments for food stamps, Medicare, Social Security, disability, veterans payments. If there was fraud, somebody was collecting their dead grandmother's check, that's for the officers of inspectors general for that particular department, which no longer exists, and a reference over to the Postal Service, which often mails the checks and have great inspectors in there, investigators in there, or the FBI. Musk goes there and he says, oh, I went to visit the Bureau of the Financial Service. I asked them all these particular questions. Would you believe they've never denied a check in their history? They've never not written a check, even if it was supposed to go to a terrorist organization? That's such bullshit. They are the checkbook. It'd be like your checkbook at home, not letting you write a check to somebody that you authorized for it to go. Yeah? The checkbook doesn't say, don't write that check. They don't have that power. There's no delegation of authority to the check writing service. They collect $5 trillion. They spend $5 trillion. Whatever Congress allocates, that's what they spend. If there's fraud, it's for those inspectors general that Donald Trump all just fired, for them to go root it out, working with other investigators, including the other investigative agencies that Donald Trump has hollowed out, like the FBI. You want to root out fraud? Don't get rid of the inspectors general, Musk. You want to root out fraud? Don't get rid of the FBI or put incompetents in charge of all of them. But Musk declares, as soon as I heard that David LeBeck, who'd been there for 30 years running this, just sort of this nameless, faceless, competent bureaucrat running everything, making sure the trains run on time, you get one of these checks I just outlined, your kid gets student aid, funding, disability, Social Security, and the rest, you get all that, you get it on time, you can thank the outgoing Mr. LeBeck, who just retired, rather than have Elon Musk ruin a lifetime of his work. People are, there was a scary moment where the Treasury Department lifetime officials, basically, all the civil servants, showed up for a meeting with Steve Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, Elon Musk, and other people, started getting asked questions about the proprietary software that's used, how the checks are written, where the checks go, all these questions that are being asked about, how does the train move? No other president's ever asked those questions. Why? Because they don't have the authority to do anything about it. Except now that Musk is in, watch, your checks are going to start to slow. He's going to use the check writing capacity of this agency through which $5 trillion goes through it. He's going to use that to try to gum up the works so you don't get paid. So if they can't do the freeze through the front door, because federal judges are onto them, the federal funding freeze, which is now on hold, withdrawn or stopped by judges more likely, they'll try to do it through the back door, through monkeying around with the checks and the distribution method through the office, the Bureau of the Fiscal Service. If I were the lawyers that are handling the case, and I know a couple of them, up in Rhode Island in the District of Columbia, I would bring this to the attention of the judge as well, at least in a supplemental filing. Judge, They're jerking around. Enjoin, stop, stay, block, as long as you're there, Judge. Stop Elon Musk, who has not delegated any proper authority by the executive branch, nor the legislative branch, who's not confirmed by the Senate. Get him out of the Bureau of the Fiscal Service and don't allow them to make any changes there to stop the flow of payments in violation of your injunction. I would do that. If they don't do that in this suit, because it's already sort of on its way, then this is the next round of lawsuits. What is Elon Musk doing? He's an unconfirmed, he's a confirmed a-hole, but he's an unconfirmed person, a civilian, who's basically directing the Treasury Secretary, not the other way around, about what he wants to see and not see, about which payment systems. Donald Trump, who's notoriously never paid any taxes, now has a guy on the inside that's checking out the software about how taxes are collected and how payments are made. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. If the lawsuits that are pending right now about the freeze don't handle this problem, the next round of lawsuits you're going to see, and I'm going to report on it right here on Legal AF, is going to be a suit about Donald Trump and Musk's attacks on the Bureau of the Fiscal Service, and to enjoin or stop them from monkeying around with payments made to Americans totaling $5 trillion that they rely on a daily basis. Who voted for this guy? Who voted for the Republican Party? If you are a recipient or someone in your life is of any of these programs and you voted for Donald Trump, you might be having a little bit of voter remorse right now, as your entitlements that you rely on in order to survive in this world are in jeopardy because Elon Musk is doing an efficiency audit of the checkbook. I'm Michael Popok. I continue to follow it all right here on Legal AF. Take a minute. You're here already. Hit the blue subscribe button. Take a receipt with you. You've now subscribed for free to Legal AF. We're building this channel in collaboration with the Midas Touch Network. And then we're just trying to get us to 500,000 with your help in our first 5 months. We're going to do it. We're the little engine that could because of you, really. I'm curating the content here. Got some great, amazing. Go check out all the other playlists that we have here on Legal AF. We sit at the intersection of law and politics, which is the most important intersection. I posit to you from now until the end of the Trump administration. And I'll do it for you right here, gladly, willingly. Full-time, Michael Popok here for Legal AF. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.